Namaste and welcome back to the Asana Sana Yoga studio. We are here this evening for Hatha Yoga, and today we're going to focus a little bit differently. Generally, when we do our Hatha classes, we like to focus on opening up our hips or maybe a balance flow. This particular flow is actually going to target your throat chakra. So we'll be doing a lot of poses or asanas today that are meant to stimulate our throat chakra, which controls our voice, our inner voice, speaking our truth, and allowing ourselves to express ourselves creatively any way we know how. So with that being said, let's get class started. Find yourself seated on your mat or your yoga rug. Let's get into crisscross applesauce. And as always, you want to just rotate those legs, whichever one's on the bottom, put it on the top. That way we can adjust alignment. And with that, let's take a deep breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. Let's begin to ground ourselves here. Just kind of letting go of the worries of the day, allowing our body just to catch up with that relaxed feeling. Settling into the evening hours. How has your weekend gone as we are springing forward out of our daylight savings time? It can be a little tricky to navigate the new time change, but I'm hoping you are working through it with very little hiccups. Let's take one more deep breath into the nose and out through the mouth. And let's use this quiet moment here to set some intentions for class. I intend to lead you all through a throat opening class that I hope will allow you to use your voice a little bit more freely, giving a little bit more strength. What are some intentions you'd like to set? Let's hold here for a moment while we set our intentions before we get started. Excellent. Let's take a deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth as we clap 3 times. All right. Cleared the outside energy. Let's get started with our class. We're just going to start warming up that neck as always with a gentle shaking of the head to no. You can start slowly, and as you progress, maybe seeing if you can let your head shake just a little bit more. A little bit further each and every time. Excellent. Let's slow ourselves down, coming right back to center. Let's start nodding the head. Nodding. Oh, this is nodding yes. This one is no. If you can tell, I don't do this very often. Part of opening up your throat chakra, you'll be able to say the word no without using your head. Firmly setting boundaries. Healthy ones, of course. Excellent. With each inhale and exhale, allow that neck just to open up a little bit wider. Great. Let's slow ourselves down to the center, coming to stillness. Let's inhale those arms to a T. Exhale as we drop that right ear to the right shoulder, using our palm, our right palm, to gently apply a little bit of pressure as a counterweight. And then bring that left arm down 45 degrees, allowing that nice gentle tug all the way from neck down the arm. Making sure we're sitting up straight, not hunching, so we can get a good clean stretch. Excellent. Let's inhale the head up, looking over to the right. Let's drop the chin using the palm as a counterweight to the back, keeping our left palm at a 45-degree angle. Excellent. Let's inhale our head up, bringing our arms back to to T. Let's exhale as we drop our ear over to the left side, using our left palm as a counterbalance, bringing our right arm into a 45-degree angle, stretching out that neck. Excellent. Inhale, bringing that head to center, turning, looking over to the left, exhaling, dropping the chin, using the hand to stretch out the back of the neck. And let's inhale the head up and back to center. Let's bring our arms, or our hands to clasp. We're just going to gently nudge our neck up with our fingertips here. Breathing for just a moment. Help releasing any of that last fascia that might still hold our necks a little bit tight. And with an exhale, roll the head down as we bring the hands over to the back of the head. Just gently applying weight, not pulling, not pushing, just letting your hands rest on the back of your head. Letting gravity do the work. Excellent. Let's release. Very good. Let's bring our hands either to our laps or onto the mat as we start to roll up and warm up our shoulders. Just go ahead and roll your shoulders going back. Inhale and exhale. Excellent. And let's inhale, rolling the shoulders forward. Keep warming up your shoulders. I'm just going to adjust the camera so you'll be able to see me better, as we will be on the floor mostly today. Very good. Great. Slowing that down, bringing ourselves to stillness. Let's inhale those arms to a T. And with the exhale, let's drop that right arm down our back, using our left arm to stretch out the front of that shoulder. Excellent. Let's bring our arms back and around here as we use our left hand to gently pull that right wrist, stretching out the front of the shoulder as well. You can go ahead and turn your head to the left if you'd like to extend that stretch. Excellent. Let's release, bringing that right arm across the front of the body, holding it over to the left side with the left hand. Again, twisting our face to the right this time if you'd like to extend that stretch. And with an exhale, release. Let's bring our left arm up this time, doing the same, using the right to extend the stretch. Excellent. Let's release that arm, swinging the left arm around the back, grabbing it with the right, turning your face to the left, actually, or excuse me, to the right if you'd like to extend that pose. To release that arm here, sending that left arm over the front, using the right to gently guide it along, this time turning to the left if you'd like to extend that pose. Excellent. Let's release the arms. Let's go ahead and make slightly bigger circles with our shoulders here. Further releasing any energy, any tension that might have built up in our shoulders today. Coming back to the forward with those arms as well. Now you can fully extend your arms if you'd like. I have a wall behind me and I don't particularly like hitting it, so I'm going to keep mine bent. Excellent. Let's roll them forward as if we're running a little bit. Windmill arms, as they call them. Excellent. Let's go backwards. Let's take a deep, 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 deep inhale as we settle our hands down, placing our left hand on our right knee, our right arm behind us, exhaling, coming into a seated twist. Like how I did that, huh? Breathing into that twist. Allow yourself to sink just a little bit deeper as you exhale. Just using this to wake up our spine, our digestive system, keeping everything flowing. Inhale the hands up. As we exhale, let's bring that right palm to that left knee, coming into our twist. Wonderful. Let's exhale with a release. Bringing both of our hands to our knees here. Let's just inhale as we slowly open up the chest, coming into a seated cow, filling up our belly, maybe dropping our head back, relaxing the shoulders, bringing the shoulders down from the ear. Let's inhale as we come back into a seated cat, curling that back, concaving ourselves. Let's exhale, coming back to center. Let's send those arms up into the air. As we exhale, bring our right arm to our lap, coming over into a seated side bend, turning our faces up to face the sunlight, if that is within your practice. Excellent. Inhale, bringing our arms to a T, switching sides with the arms left into the lap this time, as we turn our faces up to the sunlight, coming into a seated side bend onto the left. Make sure you keep your hip bone down to the side here. That way you're stretching yourself and not almost flipping over. Wonderful. Let's inhale our arms, coming into goddess arms. And exhale as you bring them up, clasping them into prayer hands. Let's bring them down in front of us. And get ready for the second part of our warm-up. Let's meet at the top of the mat here. Or actually in the middle of the mat. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. Let's go over alignment first before we get started. You can stay in the middle of the mat and go over the alignment cues with me. I'm just going to turn to the side for your benefit so you can see what I'm talking about. We want to keep our feet about hip width apart, so you go ahead and use your fist or your hands to just kind of negotiate how far that is. Approximately, no need to be exact. We want to loosen those ankles and make sure they're just right slid back over. We're not, forward too far forward. We're right here. So in fact, let's inhale forward on the toes. Exhale, coming back into heels. Inhale forward on the toes once more, coming up if you can. Exhale, coming back to the heels. Now, keeping our toes up on that last exhale, using our big toe knuckles, let's find out where our body naturally is when we relax. And we're going to work hard keeping our core tight to keep ourselves in this alignment, because that is actually a good alignment for your body. So relax your toes down, keep your knees nice and loose and over your ankles. We want to keep our hip bones and our pelvis tilted in that neutral tilt, sending it a little bit forward, releasing any tucks that we might have, if we may tuck it this way or if we may tuck it that way. Remember, your pelvis is a bowl. Keep from skill. From here, let's exhale, bring the ribs over the hip bones without flaring them out, keeping ourselves nice and erect. Inhale, roll those shoulders up and back, sending the shoulder blades down the back, keeping our shoulders from our ears. Let's keep our ears over our shoulders as we keep our chin parallel to the floor, gazing softly forward. Now with that, let's get started. Let's take our feet back to hip width apart. Whoops. Inhale, bringing our hands overhead. Let's exhale, coming into that banana asana to the left. Breathing, turning our face up if we need to. Inhale, back up to the top. Exhale, stretching over to the right. Let's inhale ourselves up, and as we exhale, stepping those legs forward, coming into our goddess pose. Let's inhale those arms straight up, coming into our 5-pointed star. And as we exhale, bringing the arm to the mat, sending our hips to the side, coming into our pyramid pose. Go ahead and face up if you'd like to extend that pose. From here, let's inhale, turning our feet to face the same direction, coming up halfway, exhaling, coming down into our pyramid pose. And you may use blocks in this if you need to, or you can keep your fingertips on the mat. It's very much up to you. Let's take an inhale as we lean forward. Exhale, placing that left foot back, bending those toes, coming up into a supported lunge. Hands on the hips or hands on the knees, up to you. Let's inhale. So we bring our hands back to the mat, dropping that back knee. Exhale, coming into our low crescent pose. From here, let's inhale once more, shifting our weight. Let's curl our toe in the left leg. Exhaling as we turn to the front, dropping ourselves down into our Skandasana, lifting up our right leg. From here, let's inhale, hands to the mat. Exhale as we drop our hips and adjusting our feet, coming into Malasana. Let's breathe here for a moment. Maybe introduce a little bit of movement into that, waking up the hips. Let's exhale, bringing those hands back to the ground. Inhale, lifting up our hip. Exhale once more as we drop down, this time to the left side, curling up that right toe, coming into Skandasana on the right. And if your balance suits you today, you may bring your hands into prayer pose. Let's exhale, bringing those hands to the mat. Inhale as we turn ourselves, dropping that back knee. Let's exhale, coming up into our low crescent pose. Take a breath in as we place our hands on the mat. Let's curl those right toes this time, straightening out our leg, coming up into that supported lower lunge. And arms up or supported on the hips, whatever works for you. Let's take an inhale as we straighten that leg, shortening our stance, coming halfway. Exhale, bringing ourselves head to knee in our pyramid pose. Excellent. Inhale, bringing our left hand to the inside of the foot. Exhale as we turn forward, using our foot to turn as well, coming into our triangle pose. Let's take an inhale as we turn that foot to the front, exhaling into our goddess pose. And go ahead and move and sway a little bit to the music if you'd like to open up your hips. Excellent. Inhale, coming up, exhaling, bringing the hands into prayer pose. Wonderful. Let's do that once more. It's always nice to do a moon salutation at evening, don't you think? From here, let's send our arms up once more. Take a deep inhale as we drop our arms to the right, coming into our standing side bends. See if you can get a little bit further this time. Keep your hips centered over the legs and don't lock the knees. Inhale, we're coming up. Let's drop ourselves to the left, standing side bend. Let's take an inhale as we come up. Exhale, let's bring our feet apart, coming into that goddess pose. We're just going to hold in this goddess pose for a moment. Let's open up our thighs and our hips, swaying to the music that's playing. Excellent. Let's bring ourselves slow to stillness. Let's inhale, turning our foot to the right. Exhale as we coming into our triangle pose. Let's take in a deep breath as we turn our feet facing the same direction, coming up halfway, exhaling into our pyramid pose. Wonderful. Inhale once more, drop that back foot, keeping our legs up. Exhale, coming into your supported lunge. Inhale, bringing our hands to the mat. Let's drop that back knee. Exhale, coming into our low crescent lunge. Let's actually go ahead and open up that hip. Go ahead and keep that dynamic movement in there as we work on our iliopsoas on our left side. Excellent. Let's bring ourselves to stillness here. As we inhale, placing our hands on the mat, turning the foot. Exhale, coming into Skandasana on the right. And make sure when you curl your toes, you're keeping this leg, back leg here active and engaged. We want to go ahead and stretch out the groin, hamstrings, and the quads. Inhale, let's bring those hips up. Exhale, adjusting our stance, coming into Malasana. And if you're having trouble with the balance in the Malasana, remember your hands in prayer pose, pressed against your knees, is meant to act as a counterbalance to your bottom going back. So you should be able to balance, working on that pose. Inhale, let's place our hands on the floor, sending our hips up into the air. Let's exhale, coming into Skandasana on the left, curling those toes up, stretching out the hamstrings and the groin on the right. Wonderful. Let's take an inhale, dropping that foot, turning to the left side this time, dropping that right knee. Let's inhale, coming up into our low crescent lunge. And from here, let's open up, make this in a dynamic movement, warming up the iliopsoas on the right side this time. Wonderful, bringing ourselves to stillness. Let's curl those toes, exhaling as we bring our left leg up, coming into our supported lunge. Great. Let's take an inhale, lifting that foot up. So we bring it closer, halfway up. Exhale, bringing the head to knee, coming into our pyramid pose. Let's inhale as we turn our right foot out, facing each other. Exhale, coming up into our triangle pose. Let's inhale, coming up into that 5-pointed star. Exhaling, goddess. Bringing our hands in front of us into prayer pose. Excellent. Whew, that was a nice warm-up. Let's find ourselves kneeling on the mat in hero's pose. If it is within your practice, you can go ahead and send your feet to the side at an angle. If not, you can go ahead and sit on your heels here. And let's get started with our flow. Let's take in a deep breath, centering ourselves as we're grounding, beginning to come into our throat chakra flow. And as we open up our practice this evening, we're going to start with lion's breath. And with lion's breath, it's a deep inhale followed by a sharp exhalation, usually with noise. This is how it goes. So we're going to roar like a lion for 5 breaths as we sit in our grounded pose, opening up our throat chakra. So inhale, let her rip. Two more breaths. Last one, and really make it loud. Don't worry, I won't yell at you guys. Excellent. You should feel your throat chakra nice and stimulated. At least feel in the body of releasing any stress that you may have had tension-wise. And use the lion's breath at any point of the day if you need to release stress. My preferred lion's pose is Imalasana. Then I feel like a real lion. All right, from here, let's find ourselves in tabletop. Turning to the side here, just so you can see me. You want to keep the same alignment cues we had from standing. Knees are hip width apart. We want to keep our leg parallel to the side of the mat. You want to keep your back from, your pelvis from tipping, nice and neutral. And then we're also going to extend to the arms, keeping our elbow folds facing out so that we're nice and strong. Keeping our hands, the palm of our hands underneath our shoulder. That way the arm isn't too far out or too far back. We want to keep ourselves in a neutral tabletop position, gazing at the top of the mat to support the neck. From here, we're just going to slowly fill up the belly and allow our hips to roll back, allowing the head to open up, coming into cow pose. Let's hold this pose for 5 breaths. Keeping our shoulders down from our ears, sending the breath to our belly, feeling the muscles expand, maybe wiggling out the hips, shaking our cowtails. Let's hold here for 2 more breaths. And with our next exhale, let's start to curl our tail in, bringing our heads in, sending our belly button up to our spine, coming into cat pose, holding here for 5 breaths. Allow your head to hang neutral and maybe shake it around a little bit, just letting it be free. Continue to hold for 3 more breaths. Let's take one last inhale in this pose. And as we exhale, bring ourselves up to tabletop. Let's get ready for our next pose by sending our feet, our hands just a tiny bit forward, taking a deep inhale as we melt our body chest first to the mat, extending the arms in front of us, keeping the bottoms in the air, coming into puppy pose. And I'm going to keep my chin on the mat as I look forward, opening up my throat chakra. And breathing into this pose. Let's hold here for 5 breaths. And 2 more breaths. And after our next exhalation, let's find ourselves, bringing ourselves, coming up back into our tabletop for just a brief moment as we begin to adjust for our next pose. Let's open our knees out to the width of the mat, allowing our toes to touch here. And with a deep breath, let's exhale, sending our bottoms down to our heels, extending our arms out in front of us, coming into an extended child's pose. Let's rest here, putting our foreheads on the mat. Let's hold here for 5 minutes. And 2 more breaths in this loving pose. And let's inhale, releasing that pose as we come back into our tabletop. Let's find ourselves here, gently swaying from side to side, awakening the body just a little bit here. That's a brief interlude. Let's bring ourselves to stillness as we curl our toes, coming into a plank pose. Then we're only going to hold this for just a moment. Let's exhale as we bring ourselves as slowly as we can down to the mat. Releasing our feet, let's slide our arms up to our forearms or on the mat. Let's take an inhale as we come up into our Cobra Pose. Exhaling as we settle in. Remember to keep your shoulders down from your ears, spreading our palms and fingers wide on the mat to support. And also, just because we're in this pose, do not disengage in the back and the lower body there. Keep the toes pointed. Keep your core muscles tight. Keep your glutes engaged, spinning out our thighs. Exhale, we're going to come here and holding in this pose for 5 breaths. And checking to see if our ears are released from our shoulders. Let's hold here for 2 more breaths. Wonderful. From this, let's take a deep inhale. And as we exhale, let's bring our arms just a little bit closer to our body, sending our arms into straightness, exhaling into our seal pose. And if you would like to extend this pose today, you may also come into a king cobra pose by bringing your feet up to your head as you drop your head back. Let's hold here for 5 breaths, either in king cobra or seal. Holding here for 2 more breaths, body check to make sure that your shoulders are down from your ears. Let's exhale, releasing our legs down if you're in king cobra. If you're in seal, once we bring down our legs or in seal, go ahead and curl those back toes, taking a deep inhale. As we exhale, let's send our hips up into the sky, coming into a downward dog pose. Let's hold here for 5 breaths, bending the knees, walking out the feet, allowing the back of the legs to lengthen in our asana. Holding here for 3 more breaths. Once more, scan the body, allowing your shoulders to drop from your ears. I know it's hard to do while you're upside down, but send the shoulders away from your head, holding our core muscles tight. 2 more breaths. Let's take one last inhale in this pose. And as we exhale, let's send our knees back to the mat, coming up to this pose here on our knees. Let's find ourselves seated with our legs extended in front of us as gently as we can come down. From here, let's exhale, holding ourselves in this pose. Inhale, sending the arms up. Let's go ahead and grab those toes, coming into a caterpillar pose. Now you may grab your feet or you may grab your toes with your peace fingers. And if you're having a little bit of a hard time stretching forward, because remember we want to stretch from our waist, go ahead and pop your knees up. Let's breathe here for 5 breaths. And with each exhale, let's see if we can sink a little bit deeper into this pose. Remember to keep your shoulders away from your ears, keeping our chest open. Three more breaths. Let's take one more inhale as we release. As with our exhale, releasing the pose, straightening, keeping the legs straight in front of us, finding our hands at our hips here. Let's settle ourselves in here into our staff pose for just a moment. Taking a deep breath, let's inhale. And as we exhale, let's bring our knees, our feet flat to the mat, settling ourselves, getting our arms ready. We're going to come into a reverse plank. Take an inhale, sending ourselves up into our reverse tabletop, dropping that head, exhaling. Let's hold this pose, holding here for 5 breaths. And if this is not in your practice today, please keep your bottom on the mat and just gently bring yourself backwards, opening up your throat chakra. We have 3 more breaths. And with our last exhale, let's bring our bottoms back down to the mat as we roll our heads forward, extending those legs in front of us once more. See, I'm going to turn to face you all. It's keeping our feet extended forward here. Let's cross our right over our left, bringing the foot to the floor, keeping our knee up. We're just going to inhale those arms up. Exhale, let's turn to the right, coming into Lord of the Fish pose. Breathing here for 5 breaths. Seeing with each exhale if we could extend a little bit deeper into that twist. We have 2 more breaths. And after our last exhale, let's inhale ourselves back up to center. Let's release that right leg, switching places with our left leg. Foot to mat, inhaling those hands up. Let's exhale, coming over to the left, watching me not hit the wall, into our Lord of the Fish pose. With each exhale, see if you can sink just a little bit deeper into that twist. And after that last exhale, let's release the pose. Bringing our arms, our legs back in front of us here. Straight out in front. Let's shake those legs out a little bit, maybe rolling the shoulders. Bringing ourselves to stillness. Let's bring our right foot to the inside of our left thigh here. And with this pose, we're going to inhale, sending ourselves up, straight up, exhaling, coming over, grabbing for that left foot, coming into that seated forward fold modification here as we stretch out our piriformis. Breathing into this pose, releasing any tension you might have in the back of your leg. I like to go ahead and flex my foot, which helps out for a little bit more of a stretch. 2 more breaths. Let's inhale, coming back up. Help our right leg come forward here. And as we exhale, let's bring our left foot into that right leg, sending our hands up into the air, bending over at the hip, grabbing that foot, coming into that seated forward fold on the left. Popping the knees if necessary. And if you like, you can always straighten out and flex the foot, targeting both major groups of muscles there. Holding here for 3 more breaths. And after that last breath, let's exhale, sending ourselves back up to seated. Let's release our leg and slide ourselves down onto the floor here as we bend our feet, placing the palms of our feet, or the soles of our feet, if you will, onto the mat. Coming into this pose, let's take a moment to get ourselves settled before we pull into our bridge pose. We want to keep our occipital bone, which is the ridge in the back of the head, directly on the mat, which lengthens out our neck, keeping our chin neutral and parallel as we look directly up to the sky. Let's keep our arms situated next to the body, palms spread out wide, fingers almost gripping the mat. And if necessary, bring your feet just a tiny bit closer to your bottom. They should probably be about finger length from your thumb to your index finger away from your body so that you have adequate support for this pose. Let's take a deep inhale, and with that, rolling our hips, starting at the pelvis, using the vertebrae, coming up into our bridge pose. Let's settle here as we hold this pose for 5 breaths. If you like, feel free to add a block underneath you. And if you'd like to extend your practice of the bridge pose, you can go ahead and roll your shoulders in, clasping your fingers together. Breathing in, holding this for 4 more breaths. Two more breaths, checking your body to assure you that your hips haven't dropped. With our last exhale, let's go ahead and release the arms if you've clasped them underneath you. Taking a deep inhale in, let's start to roll our body down, starting with the vertebrae, spine over, just slowly. Hips hitting the ground last. Exhaling, coming in, back down into that pose here. Excellent. Let's extend the legs in front of us if needed. We're going to inhale. First, if you have a block, grab that because there's an option for this. We're going to inhale, sending our legs up. If you like, you can send your hands underneath your bottom, keeping your legs up. If you have a wall, you're also welcome to do legs up the wall. And if you'd like to extend your pose, you can always place a block under your lower back as we come to our raised leg pose. Let's take a deep breath in, exhaling, settling into the pose, allowing that gravity to do its work. Remember, if you have a wall handy, feel free to throw your legs up the wall, keeping your legs engaged. You definitely don't want to just let them relax. Keep them engaged, flexing the feet towards you. 3 more breaths. Let's take an inhale. If you're using a block or your hands, go ahead and remove that out now. And as we exhale, everyone go ahead and lower your legs slowly with control, using your core muscles down to the mat. Excellent. Gently bringing them down to the mat. Very good. From here, let's keep our legs engaged. And if it's within your practice, see if you can do a half lotus or a lotus leg here. We're going to come into our fish pose. And with the fish pose, you can keep your forearms on the mat, coming forward, sending your forearms in the mat, sending the head backwards, opening up the chest, coming into lotus pose. Let's hold here for 5 breaths as we come into our cool down. If that's not within your practice to keep your legs this way, please keep them extended. Works just fine. Heck, you can even do a half one if you want. 3 more breaths. Scan your body, checking to see if you're keeping your shoulders down from your ears. We have 2 more breaths in this pose. And as we inhale, let's find our legs out in front of us, extended if you don't have them that way. Let's exhale as we bring our head forward. Taking one more inhale. Exhaling as we move our arms out of the way, keeping those legs engaged, laying back on the mat here. Resting in this laying pose for just a moment. Let's inhale, sending that right leg up to the chest. Exhale as we grab palm under palm behind the thigh or the knee, coming into our lying leg raises. Now you may also feel that flexing and pointing the toes within your practice as we cool down our body here. Just keep breathing. And with every exhale, see if you can pull your hip just a little bit more, your knee just a little bit more into your chest. Excellent. If you're pointing and flexing your toes, let's bring them to stillness. Let's take an inhale as we drop our foot, keeping our foot flexed. Exhale as we cross that right knee over the body, keeping our right hip firmly planted to the mat so that we're stretching out that piriformis here from the top. And if it's within your practice, you may extend your right arm and twist your head, getting a little bit more of love to the body. Breathing deep. Scan your body to make sure your shoulders are down from your ears and that your right hip is on the mat. We have 2 more breaths. And with our last inhale, let's bring that knee back up to center. And as we exhale, drop the knee over to the right side this time, opening up that pelvis, opening up our hips. Let's exhale, holding here, coming into lying tree pose. If you'd like, you can send your arms up overhead. And body check, keeping our foot engaged, both of them. We have 2 more breaths. Excellent. If your arms are extended overhead, let's bring them back to our sides. Inhaling that knee coming up once more. Let's exhale, bringing the knee this time to our shoulder, our right shoulder, as we open up our hips, focusing on cooling down the body, keeping our feet engaged. Great. Let's take an inhale. As we exhale, extend the leg slowly down to the mat. Controlled. Excellent. Let's inhale that left leg up this time. Palm over palm behind the leg. And exhale, pulling the leg into the chest. Let's go ahead and extend and flex the foot if you'd like. Keeping that right leg engaged now that it's on the mat. You rotate things around. Excellent. Let's slow ourselves down, coming into stillness here. Let's inhale that knee, bending the leg, dropping it over to the right side, keeping that left hip on the mat so we're only stretching out the piriformis here. And if you'd like, you can extend the practice by sending your arm and face over to the left side as we come into that twist. Two more breaths. Excellent. Inhale, bringing ourselves back to center here. Let's exhale, dropping that left leg this time over to the side as we come into our lying tree. You can go ahead and stand your arms up overhead if you'd like. I'm going to hold myself into a stargazer, palm over palm behind my head, resting in this pose. Take deep breaths. Allow our legs and body to cool down. And body check. Are we still active on our right leg? Let's hold here for 3 more breaths. Let's inhale, bringing that knee back up to center, bringing our arms down to the sides if we're extended. Let's exhale as we pull that left knee this time into the left armpit. Flexing that foot there, keeping everything engaged. Keep breathing. Wonderful. Let's inhale. Let's bring that knee back to the center, keeping the leg parallel to the floor. Let's find the other knee, matching that one. As we exhale, let's bring those knees in together. Inhale, pulling ourselves up, drawing into this cannonball pose. Exhaling, relaxing, still holding our knees. Let's just sway back and forth on our back here. Maybe rotating the knees around if you can. Rotating the other direction. Let's slow down ourselves to stillness here as we bring our feet up, extending our knees into our armpits. Let's use our peace fingers to grab our big toes as we settle into our happy baby pose. Take deep breaths as you allow your hips to open up and separate, feeling our body and our ligaments relaxing into this pose, feeling the space coming back to the parts of us that may have been just a bit too tight. Extending out the pose if you can, maybe sending ourselves into a gentle plow. Let's hold ourselves in our pose here for a few more breaths. Excellent. Let's inhale, bringing our toes and our heads up once more. Exhale, releasing the feet, the arms, and the legs. Let's drop ourselves into our Shavasana this evening. Allow your feet to open wide, your hands to relax, your shoulders to roll back. Let's inhale through the nose, sending one last lion's breath out as we flutter our eyes shut. Releasing ourselves into our Shavasana. And today I'd like to do something a little different for this Shavasana. As this was aimed towards our throat chakra, I'd like to invite you to repeat these affirmations after me. I will say them twice, allow you to repeat them, and then say them once more. Our first one. I communicate clearly and openly with the world. Repeat that once more. I communicate freely and open with the world. I am an active listener. Once again. I am an active listener. I am an important voice in the world. I am an important voice in the world. And last one. When I speak, my voice rings clear and true. When I speak, my voice rings clear and true. Relaxing back into our Shavasana. Remember those words whenever you feel like you may need to support your voice. Sending each intention to your throat chakra, allowing that pedal to open, giving you the strength to fully speak your voice. Before we come up from our Shavasana today, I'd like to read for you a passage from the Daily Stoic. Today's reading is about the present we all possess. It reads, were you to live 3,000 years, or even countless multiple of that, keep in mind that no one ever loses a life other than the one they are living, and no one ever lives a life other than the one they are losing. The longest and the shortest life, then, amount to the same. For the present moment lasts the same for all of us, and anyone possesses. No one can lose either the past or the future, for how can someone be deprived of something that is not theirs? Marcus Aurelius. Today, notice how often you look for more. That is wanting the past to be more than what it was, different, better, still here, etc. Or wanting the future to unfold exactly as you expect, with hardly a thought as to how that might affect other people surrounding you. And when you do this, you're neglecting the present moment. Talk about ungrateful. There's a saying attributed to Bill Keene, the cartoonist, and it's worth remembering. It states, "Yesterday's the past, tomorrow's the future, but today is a gift, and that's why we call it the present. This present is in our possession, but it has an expiration date, a quickly approaching one. If you enjoy all of it, it will be enough. It can last a whole lifetime." Food for thought. Excellent. As we finish up our Savasana, let's bring our hands forward in front of our chest here. Before we come up, let's just rub our hands together, warming up our palms. Let's take a deep breath as we exhale, cupping our eyes with our palms, allowing our eyes to wake, first softening the eyelids, bringing ourselves back into our awareness. And let's take a deep breath, releasing our arms, keeping our eyes closed if it's within our practice. Let's move our body in any way, shape, or form we need to allow movement to come back in. Twiddling our toes and fingers, stretching out, releasing any last tension that we just haven't gotten by the end of this class. Let's bring ourselves to stillness as we roll over to the right or the left side, cradling our head in our forearms or our hind arm here. Taking our last breaths in the Shavasana. And keeping our eyes closed, let's find ourselves coming back into seated, sending the arms up overhead, exhaling, bringing our hands down into prayer pose, fluttering our eyes open if we haven't already. Thank you for joining me for this evening's Hatha Yoga class. I hope you feel that your voice and your throat chakra is now open and you're ready to express yourself with the world. I look forward to seeing you all next Monday, at 5 p.m. in the same place. And if you enjoy Hatha Yoga and would like to wake up to it, join me on Saturday mornings at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time as we wake up our body with a soothing Hatha Yoga flow. And I would like to send you off with what I always do. Be the light that you wish to see in the world. See the light that you wish to see in the world, as it is certainly there. I send you off, all of you, to this evening hour by saying Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Excellent. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll see you all next time.